Transforming your life and healing old patterns that no longer serve you is not a linear process. And that can be really difficult because it feels like when we've built up momentum and we're moving along in a positive direction and we're feeling really good about the progress we made, all of a sudden we hit a wall or there's a dip or sometimes even a regression that happens. And it feels like we have done something wrong or that we need to be doing something different. And I wanted to talk about that phenomenon today because I think it's something that we all bump up against on our any transformation journey or healing journey or a journey of realignment. And it's something that can hold us back from being able to break through those barriers that we hit and keep moving forward and progressing on our journey. Welcome back to day 24 of the 100-day realignment journey. This week, we are talking all about focus and frequency. And I wanted to touch on this today because I'm finding on my own journey that despite having a lot of momentum and feeling a lot of positive movement in the right direction of the things that I am realigning in my life, I have hit a wall and I feel like I've stalled in some way. And now, one thing that I wanted to bring today is something that my mentor had talked about, where there are 4 questions we can ask ourselves anytime we feel stalled in any kind of energetic transition. And the first question that we have to ask ourselves is, first, do I not believe it's possible? So, whatever vision you have for yourself, or whatever identity you're trying to step into, or whatever aspects of your life you're trying to shift to come back into alignment with your higher self, we have to ask ourselves if we do actually believe it's possible for us. The second question is to ask, am I doubting myself or my abilities? And that's a really important question to ask because I think anytime we are bumping up against that ego self and we hit that resistance, the fear, worry, and doubt are the big 3 gremlins that always come in to try and push us back into the quote unquote box of the old identity. And so being able to withstand the discomfort of the fear, worry, and doubt is a skill set that we have to cultivate because those 3, I'll call them emotions, but really just those feeling states are some of the most difficult feeling states to be with and not try to either push them away or cope in some way or allow them to kind of consume us and make us go back to what feels more comfortable. The third question to ask is, am I worried about judgment? Because so many of us struggle to show up in full authenticity because we have so much fear around judgment. And one of the biggest aspects of this is actually judgment of self, because our world really is a reflection of our own internal state. And so when we are feeling judged externally, that's a really clear indication that we are judging ourselves in some way. And there is some aspect of us that we have not yet fully integrated or accepted within ourselves. And that's really good feedback on an area which we need to do a lot of work around, being with those feelings and doing belief work and really working with the shadow side of ourselves. The fourth question to ask is, am I still passionate about the vision I have for myself, or do I still feel connected or aligned to the higher vision or the changes that you're wanting to make? Meaning, are the things that you have set out to do still feeling in alignment with yourself? Because sometimes we have kind of held a vision, or we've wanted to get somewhere, or we wanted to make more money or change our career or have better relationships or whatever it is that we have visioned for ourselves to be more fully in alignment. And if we don't continually check in and make sure that still feels aligned, because as we move through a transformation journey, we change, we evolve, we level up, especially in our consciousness. And so sometimes the vision for ourselves we set at a lower consciousness is not in alignment with these higher levels of consciousness that we move into as we move along our journey. So these are some 4 questions that are really important for us to sit down and to actually take some time to write out and to sit with and to really be self-evaluating in order to know, is this one of the reasons that I have stalled on my journey? Now, the second part of this that I wanted to talk about today is also about the impact that our circumstances and our 3D world have on how we feel. So, our frequency, the thoughts we're having, and then the actions we're taking or not taking. Now, we all know that we have to be able to detach from our circumstances because any transformation starts internally first. We have to work on the inner part of ourselves so that way it's reflected outwardly, and that our circumstances are actually a reflection of old patterning and old energy within us that's just still playing out. But it can be really hard moment to moment to keep in that mental frame because we're bombarded with the circumstances of our life every single moment of every single day. And even if we have felt that internal shift and we do have a lot of momentum, when we stall, it's so much easier to fall back into that old trap of looking to the 3D to confirm the changes that we feel inside. And that will get us every single time. It will push us back and it will make us so that we don't kind of elevate to that next level. And so that's another skill set we have to become really, really proficient at. We have to be able to really disconnect from what we're seeing externally in our circumstances. And we have to really hold the vision. We have to be able to know with certainty that we have changed and that we now believe something different about ourselves and for ourselves. And we have to be able to stay in that frequency despite what's happening around us. And that is really the whole precipice of focus and frequency, is being able to stay so laser focused on the vision and on the things that we say we want, on the things that we are trying to create more of in our lives, the things that we want for ourselves, the vision of our future that we are trying to achieve, or the a higher level version of ourselves, or the new identity, whatever language makes sense to you. We have to be able to be so focused on that and be relentless in that pursuit. And that's really what the video was about a couple days ago when I was talking about refusing to quit. Because we have to have a mental fortitude, a resiliency, a persistence, a willingness to not give up in the face of challenge and difficulty, and the 3 gremlins, which are worry, fear, and doubt. And so being able to be focused, stay focused, and really use our imagination and the 4th dimension to be able to cultivate that inner vision for ourselves, and then to start knowing with certainty and feeling like we already are that person and we have it regardless of what's happening externally for us. That is truly what collapses time and helps you to elevate into a new level of consciousness. And the other aspect of this is the frequency part, where, our thoughts, beliefs, and actions do create our frequency. And our frequency has to be in alignment with whatever it is we're moving towards. We have to, the frequency of us now, the current frequency of us, is not an energetic match to what we want, because if it was, we would be there. And so we can't stay in the frequency of who we currently are and elevate our lives. We have to be able to shift frequencies. People talk about this as far as like changing a radio station or a radio dial and moving, radio frequencies. It's the same thing where the energy and frequency of who we are now has to shift. We have to shift into the energy and frequency of the desired state, of the version of us that we are realigning with. And the language of the realignment challenge or the realignment journey is really about realigning with our highest self. Or you can even call it aligning. It doesn't have to be a realignment. Some of us have never actually been in full alignment because of our circumstances and how we were brought up. But we are really coming home to that higher version, that higher consciousness of self, that grander vision for ourselves. And so these skill sets are so very important. Now, because this is a midweek check-in, I do want to give a little bit of feedback about my own experience. And the two areas of my life that I'm really focusing on here are health and career. And one of the things that I have really noticed in my 3D circumstances, especially because I've taken on this 100-day realignment journey here on YouTube, and I've been posting a lot and filming a lot and working to make sure that I'm consistent and following through, is that my attention and focus has been somewhat it's been somewhat kind of redirected into the 3D world, because even though I really work on having the higher vision and focusing on what I want to have happen, which is having impact and being able to serve others and being able to have a powerful message that's coming from my heart, from my open heart. And so, kind of that uncensored, unfiltered authenticity of my whole heart, wily vision for myself. But I found that I've stalled a little bit on the momentum that I had about showing up in full authenticity and being able to upload and post, because I am on my channel more often, trying to upload and do all the things. And I'm seeing the videos that I've posted and seeing kind of where I'm at as far as my reach. Now, that's never necessarily been the goal, but sometimes I allow the circumstances externally to dictate how I feel. It makes me feel like that maybe my message isn't important, or maybe I'm not helping people, or maybe this whole idea, which was an intuitive spark that I had to even do this, was wrong. So I'm doubting myself. I'm allowing fear to come in. I'm worrying that I'm not enough in some way. So the gremlins are out in full force. And I just really wanted to touch on this today, because I am just allowing those little gremlins to be there. And I'm allowing myself to actually sit in the energy of that fear, of that worry, and that doubt. And I'm still working on staying in alignment with that full, authentic part of me who's showing up as the person that I am, unfiltered. Because the whole reason I'm posting this journey is because I'm on a path just like all of you. And so I don't claim to be an expert. I'm just sharing my experience and my, the knowledge and wisdom I have obtained over the years of my many years of being on a healing and transformation journey. And like I said, I've come so far. I'm not there yet. I'm still working to manifest that full, whole heart, wily version of myself. And I am on the same path as all of you. And so I wanted to show up in full authenticity and just acknowledge that those gremlins are coming in. And it's because I felt so much momentum. We're here in the 4th week here. And so, there's been a lot of momentum. And now it's kind of like hitting that wall of, oh yeah, kind of that resistance I'm breaking through. I'm trying to step outside my comfort zone and continue to post and to continue to show up in full authenticity and to not second guess my intuition and to be who I am in full authenticity. And having some doubts and fears come up around whether or not it's safe to be seen in that light, in that capacity, and having to really guard against trying to show up in a certain light or in a different way, or to pivot, or I don't know, to second guess everything. So If this is resonating with all of you, welcome. You've made it. You are officially on the journey. And the advice I think I would have, or just even what I would say, or what I'm continuing to do, is just to allow it to be there. Because I've said this before, the only way out is through. And so you really have to be able to sit in that discomfort. You have to be with those emotions without pushing them away. You have to almost let them consume you, where you're just like, well, what's the worst that could happen? Right? The fear, worry, and doubt. What's the worst that could happen? Right? And just be with it. If I'm seen in full authenticity, what's the worst that could happen? I could be judged. Yeah, well, most of us, all of our lives, there's been some level of judgment and feeling misunderstood. And so it's nothing new to me. And me stepping into this power is going to propel me so much farther forward than ever shrinking and playing small ever could. So I will be back here on Friday to wrap up this week all about focus and frequency. Stay strong, my friends, and comment below if you're hitting any resistance or the gremlins are coming in for you. Let us know what you're bumping up against and how you're moving through and breaking through to the higher level version of yourself. Take care.